Hey YouTube, this is Crystal with Blessings at Home, coming to you from my car again. Sometimes this is like the only place that's quiet and nobody can bug me. I don't know, maybe that sounds like a bad mom, but I even come out here sometimes to make a phone call. Like, I just need quiet. My kids are always listening. They're always curious. They want to know, who am I talking to? What are you talking about? Anyway. Today I thought that I would hop on and do a little bit more of it and kind of like a little more about us because I realized that in a lot of our videos I talk a lot about our doctor's appointments or our therapies and things like that. So this is just kind of some background on our family and why we do have so many doctor's appointments and why we do have therapies that we have to go through. We have homeschooled during times of during times of crisis, during times of medical drama, during times of illness and uncertainty, with at some point almost all of our children. And I might sound like a lot for one family to go through, but trust me, I know several families that have gone through much worse. And I do firmly believe that God has a plan and a purpose for every interruption of our day, every sickness, every phone call that we have to make to the doctor's office, every waiting room that we sit in, that there's a reason, and I might not understand it, but God does, and that's the most important thing. So we will start with my youngest, Matthew, one of our twins. He has an abnormal heart rhythm and a question mark of a heart condition called prolonged QT syndrome. When he was younger, he would be in the middle of doing normal, typical boy activities, running around playing, and he would just drop and faint. He had episodes of syncope. Sometimes they were, they started off being spaced out, like one every 3 months or something. And then it got to where we had 2 back-to-back in a month. And then in 2012, he passed out in our kitchen and stopped breathing. I couldn't get a pulse. I didn't feel his heart beating. I did CPR. And he came to and acted as if, completely normal after that. But pretty scary situation. And he was admitted to our local children's hospital for about a week, getting EKGs done every 4 hours, getting a heart echo done, getting a 24-hour video EEG done, having a brain MRI, and everything did not come back normal, but it also did not come back with anything bad enough that would say, yes, this absolutely would cause somebody to have these syncope episodes, and this is what it is. So our cardiologist decided to put in what is called what he called a loop recorder, and it's like an internal EKG that was constantly recording all of Matthew's heart rhythms, and it stayed in for 3 years. And what we did was once a month we would hold this little device over his implant, and it would transmit all of his heart rhythms into our cardiologist. And then, did I say once a month? I don't know what I just said. Anyway, once a month we would do that, and then we would go in and see the cardiologist and discuss his rhythms. And he had that in for 3 years, and in those 3 years he only had 2 syncope episodes. And what we were able to do with that, what that heart monitor allowed us to do was we were able to pull up his heart rhythms at the time that he passed out. And we would look and say there's absolutely no cardiac reason for that he would have this episode of syncope. So, but his most recent, we did have an EEG within 24 hours of him passing out, and that EEG was abnormal. So I think his official diagnosis is like a Beck syndrome epilepsy, which is like a benign epilepsy in children. And he is not on any type of seizure medication because really, it's like once every 18 months that he's passed out. So that's Matthew's history. He does have like an abnormal heart rhythm. We know that, but lots of people have irregular heartbeats and arrhythmias and things like that that would not necessarily cause episodes of syncope. So next on to his twin brother, Benjamin. Benjamin also recently started having some episodes of syncope. He had one episode last fall and had an abnormal EEG as well. And so they decided, our cardiologist and neurologist decided to put him on like a trial, 2-year trial with seizure medication to see if he would stop having these episodes of passing out. And he's been fine, completely fine for over a year. However, he did have an episode last month. And so we're kind of talking about possibly putting in one of those heart recording devices for him as well, just to kind of narrow down and pinpoint what's going on. Because what was different about his most recent episode of passing out was he was just sitting still at our kitchen table, just working on a typing lesson. In the past, he's been, on a field day out doing something really active, and that's caused him to pass out. And the twins also have a condition. So our twins and our second daughter, Hannah, they have all had a condition called tethered cord syndrome. I'm not going to go into the all medical diagnosis of what exactly it is, but you can look that up and see what it is. So they have all had a tethered cord release surgery. Just a second, guys. Sorry. Anyway, they've all had a tethered cord release surgery, and those each required about 48 hours, 2 to 3 days in the hospital. And then the twins, all of our boys, Aaron, Matthew, and Benjamin, have a birth defect in their feet that is called tarsal coalition. And basically that's in utero, when they were developing, some bones in their feet failed to separate, and so they're kind of fused and stuck together. So like where they should have 2 bones, they actually have 1. And so we have an awesome orthopedic surgeon who has done fixed both of Matthew's feet, one of Aaron's, and one of Benjamin's. However, we're thinking that after this soccer season, we need to go ahead and get Benjamin's other foot fixed. Normally it is a bilateral condition. Sorry, I'm like seeing stuff in my rearview mirror. Normally it's a bilateral foot condition, meaning they have it on both sides. We see lots of orthopedics, or see our orthopedic often because of those conditions. And that is why Benjamin and Matthew are in physical therapy every week to just kind of help rehabilitate some things with their feet and to strengthen muscles that they might have not used correctly because of the condition in their foot. Okay, on to Hannah. Hannah has had the tethered cord release, and then she also has mild hip dysplasia that has caused some medical drama in the past. But after her tethered cord release, some of her hip problems seem to alleviate and get better. And then on to our oldest daughter, Rebecca. She is our rainbow baby. She's sandwiched right smack in the middle of 2 miscarriages. So she is a huge blessing to us, and we're very thankful for her. She's 11 years old, and she has epilepsy and sensory processing disorder, and I guess it's called a learning disorder. It's called nonverbal learning disorder, and is on the autistic spectrum technically. It's very, very similar to Asperger's, but she doesn't quite have that high IQ that I'm aware that most people with Asperger's do have. She doesn't perceive sarcasm. If you could say it's raining cats and dogs, and she would look up and be like, excuse me, where's the cats and dogs? She doesn't do well with change. If you look at her with an expression that she doesn't understand, she immediately will withdraw and she feels like she's done something wrong. She does have triggers and meltdowns and different things. She is smart and beautiful and bright, loves horses, loves anything animals. That girl's going to be a great veterinarian or vet assistant or something when she gets older. But she requires a lot of time and a lot of patience. All children require a lot of time and a lot of patience. So she is in occupational therapy, and her neurologist is actually in Cincinnati, just for circumstances where we felt that we needed her to be seen quickly by a neurologist. Last year in December or January of 2015, something happened, and she went from knowing all of her multiplication, knowing all of her addition and subtraction facts, learning long division, all that, to all of a sudden she couldn't remember how to add 1 plus 1. We were having breakfast a morning, and we had orange juice, and she didn't recognize the orange juice as orange juice. She said, "What is this orange stuff? I've never seen it before in my life." Just some really concerning things going on. She hasn't quite been the same since then. She's just different. So I don't know if she had a seizure, something changed, but we spent all of last year kind of relearning that information that she forgot, and I've kind of pulled her back a grade. She is in 6th grade, but I've dropped her down to some 5th grade work, just so that she can thrive and have success at things. And so this year is going a lot better for her than last year. So that's our Becca, and she's in occupational therapy as well. And I don't really see an end in sight. I'm not sure how long she will need to be in OT. Maybe years. We don't know. But her therapist is amazing. And then there's Aaron, and up until now, he's pretty normal, pretty healthy, frustrated teenage boy. He has been having a lot of headaches recently. I mentioned in our yesterday's video, that his hand went numb. Last night his foot went numb. His hearing's been muffled. So we're gonna take him to a neurologist to kind of figure out what's going on with that. So that is our medical drama. That is why we are constantly running out the door to doctors' offices. That's why you'll see, we might need to run to the ER for, if we have seizure issues. We might need to run to the ER for headache issues. It's just we're either at home or we are at a doctor's office of some sort, or church. Home, church, doctor, rinse, repeat. That's our life. But I have said this multiple times to people that I wouldn't change it. Every little medical hiccup that we've gone through in our lives, that we've learned something from, or we've grown, or, you really get to know your child when you've had one-on-one time with them in a hospital for a few days. And I treasure that time. It's not, ideal that you're stuck in a hospital bed. But with 5 kids, sometimes you don't get that one-on-one. You definitely don't get, 3 days worth of one-on-one undivided attention with one of your kiddos. So we've met amazing people, nurses and people in waiting rooms. So, God's got a plan in all of it. And some days it's exhausting. This month, it's just been I'm okay, I need to catch my breath. But it's all good. God is good. And I'm thankful that I do get to homeschool. Otherwise, we would be in so much trouble for missing so much school because of all this crazy doctor's appointments. That's our medical drama. Epilepsy, heart rhythms, syncope episodes, tethered cord, hip dysplasia, migraines, teenage hormones. Is that an issue? It should be. And then Benjamin has spina bifida, a mild form of it that I mentioned. So that's it. There's the answer to why we're always running out the door, going to doctor's offices. And thank you for your patience and letting me just kind of chat, telling you about our life and the chaos that it is. So I hope that you all have a fantastic Sunday tomorrow, and that you are able to rest, and that you just have a good weekend. Thanks so much. Be blessed, you guys. Bye.